winter in Colorado Springs. What's it really like? Is it like a polar ice cap? Is it like a tropical paradise? Well, we're gonna jump into all of that today because I think a lot of people, like if you haven't spent a lot of time here, I think people get this picture in their head of like 2 feet of snow on the ground. It's freezing cold all the time. Well, it's not really like that. And if you haven't spent a lot of time in Colorado in the winter, especially on the Front Range, like you might not know what it's really like. And we get this question all the time from clients that are moving from out of state. So today we're going to be talking about what winter is really like, particularly in like temperature, precipitation, driving and commute times, what's it really like to drive here, clothing, home maintenance and house prep, something that might differ from what the rest of you in the country really have to do for wintertime. And then also we'll jump into activities so you guys can just get a really good picture all around of what life looks like in the winter. So let's jump right in. We're gonna start with temperature and precipitation. So wintertime in Colorado, what's it really like? Well, it's a lot like this. So we're in Acacia Park right now in downtown Springs, kind of on the north end of downtown. There's still some snow in like some shaded spots, so you're never really gonna get away from that. But as you can see, like it's, what's today, Kemper? December 17th. It's about 40 degrees, just a little bit cloudy, and it's absolutely beautiful out. This is right on par for what average temps in December, January, and a little bit into February are gonna be like, is, you know, right around a high of like the mid 40s, lows of the high teens, low 20s. So pretty mild winter overall. And here's the thing, like once the sun comes out in Colorado, like it's just warm, right? Even if it's 30 degrees out, if the sun is out and it's a blue sky day, like you're gonna be warm. So I can be out there in this shacket, if you will. It's not super thick, and I'm not cold at all. I'm like pretty comfortable. So overall, the temperatures in wintertime here are pretty mild, pretty manageable, and you can still get outdoors and enjoy a lot of things in the wintertime. And I highly encourage it because the sun goes down so early here in the wintertime, it's killer. That's the thing that will really get me about the winters here. As you can see, we've got the mountains behind us. That's a 14,000 foot mountain right there, and the sun happens to set right behind that in the wintertime. So it's about 4:30, the sun goes down and it gets a heck of a lot colder really, really quick. Now, what's the snowfall really like? Well, on average, we get about 42 to 44 a year, just a little bit less than Denver, which gets around 47-ish inches. For reference, that's still less than like Salt Lake City, and obviously gonna be a lot less than some of your more northern states. I grew up for a portion of my life, about 3 years in North Dakota, and once wintertime set in there, it was like 3 feet of snow was on the ground all the time and just stayed there. So it's not like that at all. Most of the time, once it snows, that snow is going to be gone in 1 or 2 days max, and you're going to be able to be outside, still enjoying Colorado for what it is. So, on to number 2, back to the studio. So overall, like as we were discussing with the weather, it's a pretty mild winter here. Like the driving and the commute, it's really, in my opinion, not too bad. I used to live in North Dakota when I was a kid, and it was like as soon as wintertime set in, like, you know, there's 3 feet of snow on the ground all the time. You're never not driving like on a sheet of ice from the time that winter sets in. Well, Colorado's not really like that. In the mountains, it's going to be a little bit different. It might benefit you more to have 4-wheel drive if you know you're going to spend a lot of time in the mountains, 4-wheel or all-wheel drive. But even down here, like on the Front Range, I don't find that to be necessary all the time. The biggest thing is you want to have a really good set of tires. I used to drive a Saturn Ion back in the day, a little 4-door Saturn Ion coupe that was only front wheel drive. Well, when I put snow tires on that thing, I could mob all over town, no problem. And today I drive a Mazda CX-5 that's all-wheel drive. I just keep a good set of tires on that thing with good tread depth, all-season tires, and I usually don't have any issues throughout the winter time, whether I'm driving in the mountains or just down here on the Front Range. I would say your commute times are going to be affected, but really they're only going to be affected like during an actual kind of snowstorm or like the day after. Most of the time by, you know, day one after the storm or day two after the storm, like most streets are going to be pretty clear with the exception of like side streets, neighborhood roads, things like that. But like your main thoroughfares, the plows do a pretty good job of keeping those clean. So you don't have to worry too much about that. Commute times driving here, it's pretty mild. If you've never driven in snow before, like, well, that's going to be a lot different for you. It gets a lot different, but if you've had some experience driving in snow, it's really not too bad. So number 3 that we're going to talk about is going to be clothing. Clothing is, it's a funny thing here in the wintertime. Layering is the name of the game. I'm sure you've noticed in Colorado, like style is not a massive priority. So it's not like New York where no matter how cold it is, like people are always going to be dressed to the nines and styled up really nice. Layering here is the name of the game because as we talked about with those mild winters, like sometimes you're going to get those 60 or 70 degree days in December. I've seen all the way up to, you know, 72 in December. And the thing is, once the sun comes out here in the wintertime, it's so strong, you don't want to be left with like your puffy coat as your only option. You're going to want to have like a sweater or a hoodie or a long sleeve layer like underneath that so you can kind of shed that puffy coat layer because you will get sweaty during the day here once the sun comes out. And then also in the reverse, you don't want to have just that long sleeve or sweater and not like a puffy coat because the sun goes down quite early here in the wintertime. Really, honestly, this time of year, like December, January, like you're talking about like 4:30, 4:35 for sunset. And as soon as that sun sets, man, the temperature drops like 15, 20 degrees right away. And then, you know, it's going to be in like the high teens, low 20s at night on average. So you're going to want to have that extra puffy coat layer, but you want to make sure you're layering up throughout the day because you don't want to be left with just one or the other and then be freezing your butt off during the day because you only got a t-shirt or be too, you know, hot during the day because you've only got the puffy coat and that's your only option. So layering, that's the name of the game. All right, so number 4, let's talk about home maintenance and prep, because this is one, like, if you're not from the region or from a colder region, you might not be familiar with some of the things that you're going to want to do this time of year. So number 1 that I can recommend, and I missed the boat on it again this year, so you really want to make sure that you have these down pat, is getting your sprinklers blown out. So getting that maintenance by a qualified contractor who can do that, because you can do it like DIY, but it's just not going to be as good as a contractor is going to be able to do it. And you want to do that for a couple of reasons. Like, obviously it gets cold here, right? So like that top layer of ground where all the sprinklers and the pipes exist, those are going to freeze. So if you leave the water in them, you're talking about pipes bursting. At best, you're just going to be talking about in spring when you turn the sprinklers back on, you're going to have a leak somewhere in the yard. At worst, maybe you accidentally leave your water on, like moi, and that pipe bursts, and then you've got water consistently running, and the next month you get a nice high water bill and an unhappy wife because you forgot to turn the sprinklers off and call a contractor to get those blown out. So I think I'm on my second overflow valve on the sprinklers in 2 years. So I'm 0 for 2 on that. So you definitely want to make sure that that's something that you have on your schedule. I recommend getting it done right around Halloween. It seems like every year around Halloween, we're always going to get like our first snow, our first cold snap. So like that week before, that's when I recommend like, go ahead, turn your sprinkler water off, get the contractor out there, go ahead, get the whole system blown out so you can prevent silly things like that from happening. The other thing that you want to do as well is any pipes that you have exposed, or if you have a crawl space that's maybe uninsulated, you want to go down there and you want to insulate those pipes. So, you know, whatever your hardware store is of choice, you know, whether it's Ace or Lowe's or Home Depot, whatever the case may be, they're all going to have water pipe insulators there. It's just foam insulators that can go over that water pipe and keep the temperature just high enough to keep things from freezing. I definitely recommend doing that, and then buying any of the insulator caps for your spigots as well around the house, your water spigots for your hose and things like that. That way, again, you can just prevent like freezing and pipe bursting. I've seen it a million times where, you know, a client or a friend forgets to do that in the wintertime, and all those pipes, like if they're exposed on the outside, they go back into the house somewhere, right? So what I see a lot of times is like, you know, a leak pops up in the basement ceiling, and then you've got a couple $1,000 repair because you forgot to insulate those pipes. So that's one thing that you definitely want to make sure that you take care of as well right before that first cold snap. The last thing, and I've noticed over the last couple of years living in an older home like we do now, I have a home that was built in the 50s. I've noticed this, so it's something I recommend to people. If you can treat that home, I just do it myself with some spray, but if you can treat that home, you know, your doors, windows, any cracks in the exterior, whatever the case may be, with some bug spray, because bugs also get cold, shocker, and they want to go find somewhere warm during the winter time, which happens to be your house. So I recommend getting that treated as well before winter time to just kind of prevent that that first initial phase of, you know, seeing too many spiders or beetles or whatever it is in the house. I have had to kill way too many this year because, again, I forgot to treat that before the winter time. So don't be like me, learn from my mistakes, honestly. So that's number 4. Oh, hey there, how's it going? Thanks for watching the video. If you stuck around this long, we appreciate that. And we want you to know we're licensed realtors here in the state of Colorado. We are the guys who have all the information. We know the area. We've lived here a while. I've lived here almost 20 years myself. So if you have any more questions, make sure to reach out. Our website is down there in the description. Make sure you go check out the website. And if you're ever thinking about making that move, make sure you register on the website and reach out to us. We're the guys who answer the phone calls, emails, texts every single day. We're helping tons of people move to the area and make a smooth transition. So don't hesitate. Reach out, and we'll see you. All right, last but not least, let's talk about wintertime activities here. You know, like I mentioned at the start of the video, I think a lot of people think there's gonna be 2 feet of snow on the ground, it's gonna be crazy cold. What am I gonna do in the wintertime when I live there? And well, you gotta keep off the SAD, or the seasonal affective disorder, if you will, somehow. And the way you do that is by still getting outside and enjoying the sunlight while it's there. So right behind me, in the middle of Acacia Park, we've got an ice rink here that gets set up as soon as it gets cold enough, and it's gonna stay up through the new year, really into kind of like February, maybe even into March if it stays cold enough around that time. And this is a really great little local activity. But here's the other thing, almost anything you do in the summer, you can still be doing in the wintertime. So all your hiking, biking, you know, even fishing. Like I've gone up to Deckers in January to go fish up there, and you can still get fish to bite. You can do almost any of that in the wintertime, but of course wintertime is also going to bring on like your traditional wintertime activities as well, like ice skating or skiing or doing some snowshoeing. I found snowshoeing to be a lot more fun than I thought it would be. But of course, like I said, you can still get in your hiking, just get some Yaks tracks. Check out our incline video if you haven't checked that out yet. We threw on the Yaks tracks and Yaks tracks. How many times can I say Yaks tracks fast? We threw on our Yaks tracks and hiked that thing, even though there was 4 inches of ice and snow in some spots, right? So you can still enjoy so much here in the wintertime, and it's a way to keep off those wintertime blues after the holidays and after all the excitement of that season, when we've still got, you know, 2.5, 3 months of winter left, you can still be outside enjoying the winter. So that's it for now. Those are 5 things that will hopefully kind of give you an idea of what wintertime really is like here, what it's like to live here during this time of year. We talked about temperature and precipitation, you know, the driving and commutes. We talked about clothing, we talked about home maintenance and prep, and we finished it off with activities. So, like I said, if you ever got any questions, make sure you reach out. Our website and our phone numbers down below in the description box, and we'll see you on the next video.
Rolling.
Winter in Colorado Springs, what's it really like? Well, it's absolutely freezing. It's a frozen over hellhole. No, I'm kidding. Sorry, I gotta restart.
Are you kidding?